Good evening and welcome to... Oh dear, that's loud. There we go, apologies for that. Good evening and welcome to round 9 of the Can-Am 1971 Championship, coming to you tonight from Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. And with me early on here is Jason White. Good evening, Jason.
Hey Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a fantastic weekend and now looking forward to some really good racing here.
Any floorball?
Yeah, I actually refereed my first floorball of the season, so...
oh, cool.
Happy and on the way.
Good. Yeah, that's the nice thing about fall, at least in the States and probably in other parts. It signifies a change of season and new expectations and new things starting, so yeah, it's a fun time of year.
That's definitely the case. And yeah, it's also the fall part of our championships, where of course this is round 9, and then I believe it's in another week's time we have the F1 championship underway. Sorry, it's 2 weeks, isn't it?
Actually, it's a little further than that. I don't. We have another F1 race until November. Believe it or not.
Wow.
The next real races that are going to be taking place are the New Zealand Touring Car Championship races.
Oh, of course it is, yeah. Which is in 3 days' time.
Yeah, and then we have the second round of that, and then after that we have the Åcerclinth race, and before long we'll have another Gold Star round of the Jaguar Intercontinental Challenge, which ought to be fun.
Yeah, it certainly provided some thrills and spills last time, those machines were used.
Yep, I'm thinking that we should now be calling the Jaguar XJR-15s the Cardiac Cats, because they're certainly exciting to watch. Thrills and spills.
Certainly, and another bit of thrills and spills will surely be had tonight at Laguna Seca, the Laguna Seca Raceway. In its old layout, without the infield part, of course.
Yeah, I'm thinking that a lot of us are going to have yellow guardrails on the back of our eyelids when we go to sleep tonight. Because this is basically what you're doing is you're sprinting from one awkward turn to the next. And especially on the backside of the where you're going up the hill towards the corkscrew, there is very little margin for error. The guardrail's right there at the edge of the track, so if you overshoot the turn, your next stop is that guardrail. So this is likely to be a very high attrition race. People who drive within themselves and drive clean will likely see a good result. As far as the championship goes, the pressure is on David Saber to have a really good race here, because Eves has got the championship by the throat, and unless Dave can produce a good result here, he can pretty much hand the trophy to Mr. Yves Placé and the Maranello team.
And it'll of course be very difficult for David as well, considering the way the track looks, because that Ferrari has very nice handling. Handling is sort of what you want around here.
Well, looking at qualifying, I mean, David's on top right now. Curiously, Yves has not turned a single lap yet. So maybe he's pulling an Eric Senna. He's going to wait until the very last minute when the track is clear and come out and then set a real flyer. We'll have to keep a close eye on him. We've got less than 19 minutes left in qualifying. It was pretty madcap mayhem earlier, lots of action on the track, and it was hard to put a clean lap on the board. So maybe that's what Yves is waiting for. He's waiting for a moment when the track is going to be less busy, and then he can go out and set his fast time.
That's definitely a possibility, but let's actually ride on board here with David Saber. David Saber, I think it is, in his McLaren as he comes up start-finish straight here.
Okay, heading downhill now, and you can see how the car gets very light there. Turning into this corner here about 100 miles an hour, then you thread the needle between these two curves. That's not easy to do, at least not consistently. Then you sweep through this left-hander. Yeah, if you nail that left-hander right, you can go through there almost flat out. Then downshifting for another left-hander. This is what I was talking about here. The guardrail's right next to the track. If you overshoot the turn, you have no other thing to do except run into the guardrail. Then you have to downshift up here for the corkscrew. Left, immediately back to the right. Get on the power as soon as you can. Sailing downhill. Then turning left here. You want to hug the inside as best you can here and keep on the power. That's harder than it sounds. And now down to one of the very few right-hand turns in the course. It's easy to scrub off speed here, and then down to the final turn. Notice how everybody is swinging really wide. They're aiming for those hay bales just to get the widest start possible. Let's go for one more lap with David Saylor as he exits the final turn. Start-finish line, blind brow here. Goes over this brow here. Car gets light, downshifting, about 100 miles per hour in this left-hander. Then threading the needle through these two curves. Very nice. Coming down now before he gets to this bridge turn here. Left here, you're just trying to get through there as fast as you can. Downshifting again, left-hander. This is taken at about 85 miles an hour or so. If you clip that curve, that could slow you down. Heading up this hill here, a good braking zone to start is where that yellow guardrail starts on the left, keeping the car under control. Left, right, through the corkscrew. Heading downhill, left hand, trying to hug the inside there, sweeping out and applying the power. Down the hill, down into this one right-hander here. The only other right-hander would be the turn after the corkscrew.
And I believe
it looks like he's not going to complete this lap. He's heading for the pits. But oh no, there he goes. Okay. But as you can see, it's there are only two right-hand turns on this track, and indeed some people are setting up their cars in an oval where the car favors turning left. I'm one of those people. So anything to make the car easier to turn left is a good thing. Yeah, because you're only turning right.
Definitely, and the corner he's coming up to now under the bridge sort of reminds me of the old Tamburello, with how it's either you survive or you're completely out of it.
One or the other. Yeah. The corks is going to be a real trouble area. Especially on the first lap, first two laps obviously, but it's going to be an even bigger problem for people who are lapping. If you're being lapped, an excellent spot to let somebody by, but you just got to make sure that you're well clear of them for them to sail by. This right here is probably the best place to allow cars by because you've got the room, but most of the rest of the way around the track it is very tight, and I'm sure that we're going to see one or more lapping snafus occur here and there. And the best, one thing we told people before qualifying began for this race is we told them, please, please, if you're coming out of the pits and you're not on the clock, please give room to those who clearly are on a hot lap. And for the most part, people have been doing that, which is nice. Because there's no sense in holding somebody up.
No, certainly not. As you say, it's very tight. So, if you're being even if you're only having to go around someone in a straight, it could still cost you. As I think we talked about a little bit before we went live here, maybe up towards 2.5 tenths. Just going for a slightly different line.
Yeah, this course is so short. It's less than 2 miles long. And we're doing 90 laps here. And when you're doing qualifying laps here, it can be hard sometimes to know exactly what that made you faster. I've had some instances where I'm driving, as David drives clear into the, well, he didn't hit it, but almost hit the TV stand. If you're not careful, you can, I mean, I've done laps where you're right on the edge and you're not as quick, and then other ones where you're just a little bit looser and not quite as committed, and next thing you know, it's the fastest lap you've done. So it can be hard to pin down exactly what makes you quick sometimes.
Indeed, talking of being quick, and also our championship leader, Yves Placé, is out on track now trying to set the time in. Set a
1:03.132. And obviously he can go faster than that. So he's just now entering the corkscrew. Whoa, he's got the back end all the way around. Coming down the hill now. I'm not sure if he's on the clock right now. I would think he is.
Yeah, he is on a hot lap, so...
Alright, well, we'll see what happens when he crosses the line. He's only 12th on the leaderboard. So
looks like
we'll
he's
see if
looking
he
for
can make
another
any
lap here.
headway. It's hard to tell because everybody's pitching their cars so far to the right when they come out of there. Here he comes across the line. Still a 103.12 is his best. Gets some good air coming off of that hump through these turns. Yeah, he lost a bit of time there. So that's the thing. The small mistakes there can really cost you in terms of time. Oh, graces the barrier there, and that's another example of, you want to get through there quickly, but in order to get through there quickly, you have to risk that you're going to run wide and scrape that barrier.
Definitely. And
I mean, you can slap the side of the vehicle, and oh goodness, he's really, yeah, he's, I don't know if he's got damage there or not, but he's got 11 minutes to go now, so we'll see if he comes into or if he keeps going. No, he's going to keep going. He thinks the car is sound enough that he can put up a good lap. This is obviously not going to be a better lap than what he has so far. Well, wait a minute, it is. It's almost 103. It's almost 103 dead, even with hitting that barrier. All right, comes through the corner again. Wow, back end really hanging out there. That time he didn't lose as much ground in that little wiggle in the. Ooh, looks really fast here. There under the bridge turn, Castrol bridge, right hand. Oh, excellent!
Nicely done.
There, he stayed right on the. He didn't touch any of the gravel there. Now he's downshifting for the corkscrew. Okay, this is going to be interesting because he's got little Al in front of him. Hopefully, little Al knows that he's on a flyer and will give him room. We'll see. Little Al driving the A.G. Dean car. And he does. He's moving to the... Yeah, very, very nice of
nicely done. Very good.
Very good.
This little Al seems to have a bit of a handful, but...
Yeah, but he gave him room, and little Eves got through, so the lap wasn't spoiled. Let's see what happens here as he crosses the line. 102.469, and he's going off back now, so that's... he's going to go back to the pits and get some fresh rubber and try again. So that puts him 11th right now. The standings are David Saber, David Jakes in the Auto Coast, Grant Riddall in the UOP Shadow, who hasn't done a lot of practice laps, David Yunt, who was actually fastest in practice prior to when qualifying started, Yuha Boss in the other factory McLaren, Jason Whitehead, Martin Lucina, Tiago Canola, Brian Janik, and Raul Ureb round out the top 10. Then you have Yves Place in the Scuderia Ferrari, 712.
And it's
he's heading back out on track again now, so...
it's amazing to think that it looked like Yves had such a fantastic lap going, and it's still not even inside the top 10.
Well...
Considering how quick he's been in the last few rounds, especially.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the pressure is really on David Saber. If I were in Yves' shoes, I really wouldn't be that concerned because really all he has to do is drive well in the last two races, and the championship is his.
Of course,
that's all he's got
but
to do.
I don't think. I mean, no disrespect to anyone else, but you surely wouldn't want to be in the middle of the pack.
No, especially on lap one, you don't want to. I think that's everybody is driving in the teens or later, or further back in that grid. That's their concern. Is that there's going to be yellow flags like crazy, and they'll choose the wrong path to get around cars. It's certainly going to be one of my concerns. Yves uphill. He's on the clock at this point. Heads into this turn by the bridge. Well done. Yeah, the Ferrari definitely should be one of those that corners the best, although this is more of a straight line speed track than one would think. Through the corkscrew. Heading downhill. It's amazing. I'm surprised that he's steering through that left-hander as much as he is. I would think, oh, really lights up the tires there. Down to the last turn.
Nearly hits the hay bales as well.
Martin Lucina just kissed hay bales there. Coming through. Nope, still his best is 102.469. So let's see how he gets through this corner. Downshifting, going through. Beautiful. And he really lit up the tires under acceleration there. Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, that's a great line through that now to the Castrol bridge turn. Left-hander. Excellent. Yeah, he's getting into his groove now. We'll see what happens. Downshifting for the screw. Left. Right on the power. Heading down the hill. This is where the car gets loose on him in particular. He's in better control this time.
Much better.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he doesn't mess up here.
Right-hand turn. Very good speed through there. Now he just has to negotiate a left-hand almost hair. Accelerates. Let's see what we got here. 101.831, which put him 5th on the grid so far. So that's a huge... He just jumped 5 places. He's got Felipe Enrique in front of him now, so this is not going to be a... Oh, no. Well, there goes that. He wasn't going to be able to contain the momentum there, but I don't think he damaged the car there. If he wants to keep going, he can probably regain momentum and keep going with the warm tires he's got.
And we can also see here...
But yet,
almost everyone except... Grant is out on track within the top 5 here, trying to improve their times.
Yeah, because we got about just a little more than 6 minutes to go here in qualifying. Then we'll have the warm-up, which is 10 minutes. Those who, it's like, is Eves making room? Yeah, Eves is making room here for David Yunt. That's very sporting of him. The warm-up is 10 minutes. It's going to be vital for people who haven't driven their cars with full fuel to see how they handle the difference. With most people, it's probably just going to mean it actually may be a benefit. For some people, the cars will be more stable under acceleration, and they just have to remember to leave more room to stop.
Which isn't the easiest thing when you've done many laps of qualifying pace.
Oh, I think Eves just hits the barrier there, so I don't know if that would have slowed him down too much. It depends on if it bent the suspension up front. If you hit the barrier with the side of your car square, it doesn't do that much damage. You can get by doing that, but certainly it's not something you want to do with any regularity.
Definitely not, and I must say I'm really happy to see the auto coast again up near the front of the field in the hands of David Yates.
Yeah, David's he's kind of ambivalent about the auto coast. He likes driving it, but the car in general, just he and I were talking about this during practice. It just doesn't. Something about the geometry of the thing is just not ideal. You would think that its titanium construction would make it, obviously it would be lighter and stiffer, but for whatever reason, the geometry of the car is just not as good as some of the other ones. It does seem a little on the P side. It reminds me a little bit of Bruno Chacon's March in terms of its girth.
Yeah, except the auto coast is a lot nicer to look at than the March.
Yeah, the March.
In my view, of course.
It's a bit of a behemoth. Yeah. And my trip to is a bit on the beefy side too. All right. Did you go over the? I can't remember.
Did I go over what did you say?
The point standings, just to refresh.
Yes, I brought them up when you talked about them. After we can have another.
Oh,
look.
okay. No, that's okay. I wasn't clear if you had or not. If you already showed him, that's fine. But that should make clear the point I was making earlier is that Eves basically. It is his championship to lose, more or less, and David. All the pressure really should be on David's shoulders this evening to turn in an excellent drive. And he's had good drives in this championship, but there have been other ones where it starts out good, and then through bad luck or just a small miscue, just go awry. Hopefully that won't be the case here.
Hopefully it'll be a nice, clean race with a lot of good fights and.
Well, whoever wins it, it's going to be a walk in the park, that's for sure, because you have to contend with the mental strain of 90 laps around here. It's very trying, and you've got to negotiate lap traffic. So it's going to be a definite challenge.
It's definitely true. And of course it's again one of those situations that as soon as you're off the track, you're probably out of the race.
Oh, it depends on where you go off the track. Like if you go off the track, like in some place after the corkscrew, there's a decent amount of runoff there, and you can get back on. If you go off the track, say on the part of the track that's going up the hill towards the corkscrew, that may be another matter because the guardrail's right there. So it really does depend on where you go off track. These trees that you see off the track are solid. So if you hit a tree, that's probably it. So hopefully you won't see any tree action this race. Is Yves out on track again? No, he's still in the... Maybe he's resigned himself that, well, there's a minute and a half to go now, so I think he's pretty much, you know... Oh, no, wait, he is going out. All right, so Yves is going to give it one more shot here. As long as he makes it around to take the flag. Or not the flag, I'm sorry. As long as he makes it around one more time, he can take one more timed lap given the time that's left. And I believe we have one more person in the booth with us.
Good evening, Alberto.
Evening.
Oh, it's Alberto.
Great to have you here, Alberto.
Yeah, happy to be here as always.
You ready for some Mad Cat Mayhem tonight?
For sure, that's exactly what the race recap would be.
Yeah. You can play yakety sax over the highlights. We'll see.
Demolition Derby, Laguna Seca version.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very tight track, very powerful cars and very eager drivers, so I guess the combination is not going to be body workshop friendly.
Well, we know who you're looking to root for this evening, Little Al. What do you think his
I
chances?
tried not to look.
Oh, you put the commentator's curse on him, Jason, he's banned in the
Yeah,
corkscrew.
don't look and don't talk about him, so yeah, and then things will be okay. Yves Lassay is going around now on one final flying lap. So we'll see if he can improve on his 5th place start. He just made it through the kink really smooth. Now he's at the Castrol bridge. Heads under there, downshift very smoothly through there. Heading up the hill towards the screw. This is going to be his last shot. The clock runs out now. So whatever time he has when he comes across, that's what he's going to have. Currently, David Saber is on the pole.
Perfect lap as usual from Yves Lassay, using till the last millimeter available in the track. Very precise in his driving. And probably one of the tracks that should actually fit better this car. With some more handling.
Yeah, you would think. Alright, he comes out of the final turn. Let's see what number he puts up. He's currently 6th. Oh,
he stays there.
He stays there. So Yves is going to be starting 6th. David's got a clear track in front of him, and from David Saber's point of view, this is the perfect scenario because he needs to do well here. He absolutely has to do well here.
Though it's worth mentioning that the 7 first qualified are in the same second.
It's true.
It's just tenths of a second, the difference between them.
I believe that's the first time we've had pretty much the top 11 now within the same second this whole season. I believe it's been a bit more between them.
Shows how competitive this is. It's gonna be a competitive race, and people are gonna have to keep their noses clean if they want to make it to the end and save their cars too for the end.
It's a short track, so if you put the relative differences in perspective here, considering the track length, and probably everybody is what they should be. But yeah, it's just tenths of a difference between the top one.
Okay, so we're heading into warm-up now. I'm going to go get my office in order for the race, gentlemen, and I'll leave you to the broadcast booth. Thank you both again for covering this series. Hopefully we'll put on a good show for you and everybody watching on YouTube.
Best of luck, mate.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Cheers.
User disconnected from your channel.
So yeah, about 10 minutes of warm-up, and then we'll get on the way here in probably a blaze of body parts.
The Six Class A already willing to get the feel of the track with a full fuel tank. You gotta remember that these cars have a very, very high load of fuel when they are racing for the whole distance. It's very different from what they do when they are just qualifying for some laps. In this case, it's a car that it's heavy and really feels like, I would say, like a pregnant whale when compared with what they feel like in qualifying.
Very much so, and the one benefit, as Jason mentioned, is that that may actually help some of the drivers that the cars are a bit heavier and a bit less tail happy when you actually put the power on.
Well, in any case, as the racers like to say, it's the same for everybody. So as long as it's the same for everybody, everybody's happy. But yeah, it's quite different to get accustomed to that.
Definitely is, and it'll be interesting to see who has the quickest acclimatization process in doing that.
When you're racing touring cars, the difference is probably not as big. But when you're racing low-weight open wheelers and sports cars like this, then it's a very different feel when you're on the brakes and also when putting the power down on exit of the corner. The inertia are so much bigger. Proportionally, you are really putting a lot more fuel, a lot of more of weight when you are on board, because these engines are really, really thirsty.
Indeed. In comparison, we could take the since it's coming up, the New Zealand Touring Car Championship. They would probably be running around maybe 1.5 liters a lap at most with the V8s and the V12 Jaguar. With these cars, I'd expect like 4 or 5 liters a lap because of the ridiculous size of the engines.
Yeah, we're talking 7 and even 8 liter engines. I mean 8 liters. Just picture 8 bottles of water, one beside the other, and you get an idea of the amount of capacity of those engines. Yeah, it's a mixture of air and fuel. Obviously, not everything is filled with fuel, but still is an amazing amount. You gotta think of the engine, as all the engineers do, as a kind of air pump. The more air and the more fuel you pump through the engine, the more power you get through, because after all, it's the explosion of the mixture of fuel and air what gives you the power. So the more fuel you put through, the more air you put through, the more power you have. So picture, like I said, 8 bottles of 1 liter of water, one beside the other, and you have an idea of what is moving like 9,000 times up and down per minute. Quite an amazing thing.
Definitely. Yeah, let's see. Mark Craggs is in that, I believe. Let's see, we might be missing 1 or 2 drivers by the looks of things. I would have expected Timo Vermeersch to be racing, but there he is. I missed him looking through. Timo is one of those drivers that has swapped cars, I believe, since the last round, where he's now in one of them, probably faster in the newer McLarens compared to his Porsche. Where hopefully he'll have a bit more, slightly more competitive race than he's had for most of the rounds running the lowly Porsche 91710, I believe it is, that he's been racing earlier. And talking of that car, of course, that's the car of Mark Craggs. Who I don't think raced last time out. Although of course I could.
It's a bit of a mayhem always towards the end of the season when some people are dropping cars, others are going for the new available ones. Everybody wants to do his best before the season closes.
Certainly, and everyone wants a piece of the action out of those who may have been watching for the whole season and hoping for an opportunity. I'd actually expect that that Porsche to be fairly okay around here, generally speaking.
I think here is that it's a very tight track. I don't know what kind of track action we're going to see, but for sure overtaking is not going to be easy here but by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, when you're looking on board, you would think that the track is, well, it's okay, it's not that narrow, two cars can make it quite well side by side. Yeah, that's true. But then think about the turns, the braking points and all that, and you will see that there are not many spots where you could actually try to make a move. Actually, there are probably none where you would do one if you are halfway sane. I mean, it's very hard to overtake here.
That's definitely so, and even more so, as Jason alluded to earlier, the lappings will be really difficult to pull off in some areas of the track.
Yes, of course. Even if people try to make it easy for the lapping part, but it's still a very narrow track. It's still a track where there are not many places where you can do a safe overtake.
No, and of course they will probably have a handful with the cars as it is, without trying to pass anyone as well. There we go, you're sorting out a bit of background stuff amongst us broadcasters and admins. As we are watching Mick Chapman in his BRM, the car earlier competed, campaigned I should say, by Jakob Fredriksson. That's one of the cars with its short wheelbase that should be good in the slower corners around here. But of course it'll probably be a bit of a handful in some of the faster ones. And let's see how long we have left here. About 1:45. Probably would have been better to go live a few minutes later, but oh well. Could be worse. It looks like it's David Saber again quickest, but only by 59 thousandths of a second from David Junt. It's amazing how close it is in these cars. Differences should be tenths rather than thousands. As we jump on board with David Junt now, as he tries to negotiate a lap. One of the reasons we aren't actually using any names for the corners is that back in 71 there were no names except for the corkscrew. All other corners was unnamed, and therefore it'll be a bit difficult to keep track of which corner is which in terms of calling it out, but racing should still be good, as we can see a loose tire rolling down the track. So someone will have had a crash coming out of the corkscrew. Yes, David uses all the road available, coming through T8, now through 9. Nicely on the power. Let's see if he can actually set the fastest practice lap. I believe he did indeed by half a second. Wow. As we are, warm-up's time is up, so let's shut off the sound for just a moment for the game to roll over, so we all keep our sound, our availability to hear anything, due to the announcer being very loud usually. So we'll be back in just a moment's time. And there we go. Now on to the race itself, where of course David Saber will be starting from pole, taking it by 3/10, which is a mile compared to how tight it was through the rest of the top 10. With David Yates in second in his Auto Coast, third for Grant Ridol in the Shadow, fourth for David Jonatan in his McLaren, fifth for Juha Bosen as second of the Works McLarens, Yves Placé sixth in the end in his Ferrari, Brian Yannick seventh with Jason White eighth, ninth for Martin Lasina, and rounding out the top 10 is Thiago Canola. Raoul Jereb ended up 11th with Gerard Riot 12th, Ray Ridol 13th with Hackman 14th, Chapman 15th with Gabriel Sturr 16th, 17th for Steve Parker in a new ride for him, and 18th for Jason White, 19th for Alberto Jr., and rounding out the top 20 is Matthias Weber, who's back in the series, driving his old car that he used early on in the championship. 21st for Bruno Chacon, and 22nd for Dave Miller, 23rd for Mark Craggs, and 24th, and seemingly without his hood, is Felipe Enrique, and rounding out the grid is Timo Vermeersch in his newly acquired McLaren. As the field streaks through the corkscrew and back down the hill, and it's a very nice view to behold indeed. As we are rounding the second to last corner, and now coming up towards the last corner at turn 9, just waiting for the green flag to fly, which will be just a few moments away. And the green flag is out, and we are racing here at Laguna Seca. Oh, and it looks like oh, this will be tight. The Shadow is up in the lead. Oh no, that's a spinner. That's a spinner in the midfield.
Unlucky one.
Oh dearie me, that's a big one. Did everyone survive? Or do we have any? Wow, it looks like everyone survived.
Yeah,
my God.
The rest of the field seems to have been able to get through safely. And now David Saber is putting some pressure on Grant Ridder before the corkscrew.
Ooh. Wow, that was close. Looks like it could have been David Junt who had the spin in the first turn there.
Though he recovered quite well. I mean, he lost some possessions, but still is still in the middle of the grid. Now overtaking Martin Lasina, which again is not exactly an easy path, because as you know, because as everybody knows, Martin is one of the latest breakers in the field.
Indeed, and now he has Brian Yannick to contend with as well.
In the head of the race, Grant Ridder has already opened a bit of a gap, while David Saber and David Jacks are stalking him actually in a quite respectable distance behind. I think everybody is wanting to keep it clear and keep it clean and get into the rhythm.
It definitely seems like it. There's a bit of a gap between most cars right now. I believe the closest few cars is actually the...
has spun. He's on the side of the track, but is now returning to the action. No
oh no! Your son Alberto has had a bit of a moment, as does Timo Vermeersch going into the braking for the corkscrew. When we have... Oh, that's Felipe Enrique upside down! Whatever happened there? See if we can possibly find out. And see, he comes across... Oh, he's already off the road, so I don't know if he cut the right-hand side there, but... See, clearly something happened to him there. Oh, he just went straight across the corkscrew. That looked very unfortunate as Alberto Jr. heads into the pits. We can see ahead that the top 4 has a big gap to Yves Placé, who himself has quite a bit of a gap to Brian Yannick, and then there's 4 cars following closely behind him. And then there's another big gap, and then there's another group of cars fighting. And then we have Steve Park in a bit of a no man's land, as is Matthias Weber. And there comes Jason White, and then it's Chacon, Chapman, and I'm not sure who is driving that particular machine, the blue. Dave Miller it is, of course, who too I believe has changed cars since the last round.
And Grant Riddle really putting the pedal to the metal here and building up a big gap already with David Saber and David Jacks. With that very peculiar shadow. He's certainly not waiting for anybody.
He probably feels that he's very quick early on in the race, so that's possibly why he's looking to build a bit of a gap. Whereas Chapman looks up the inside of Bruno Chacon there, but now comes Dave Miller for a move, looking up the inside, going for the corkscrew. This could be side by side during braking with a bit of turning, but it looks like Dave Miller puts the move off and moves up a position here.
Very nice clean overtaking there.
And very nicely from both of them to leave each other room. Nice stuff right there. As it looks like some of the groups have partly split up. Looks like there's another fight here between Ray and... not entirely sure who we're on board with, but Gabriel Sturrit is who we're riding on board with, following Ray, who has one of the more powerful engines, so I'd say the best opportunity for Gabriel to make a move is down the hill into possibly into the last turn. If he can just get the power down well enough. He had a slight bit of a run coming out, but not enough. And now we'll see that 8-litre Chevrolet engine pull Ray away a little bit. And still
David Saber has spun.
Oh dear me, that's not good for him. Oh, he needs to get going. And there he goes. He's just ahead of Yves now. This could be very interesting. See how this plays out. Because David of course needs a good race here, as mentioned earlier, to keep the championship alive. He's of course 21 points behind Yves, ahead of this round. We can see a couple of cars behind there. Yannick is still under attack from David Junt as Martin Lacina goes rally crossing. we can see here down the sort of kink straight, the 8-liter Chevrolet engine definitely pulls away well, and here comes David Junt up the past Brian Yannick after Yannick made a slight mistake trying to get on the power coming out of the Castrol bridge turn.
Curious to see now if David Jacks is able to stay with Grant Riddle or even to get closer.
Well, there is a little bit of traffic to contend with already in this race.
Yeah, definitely the last lap in the case of David Jacks has been quicker. The last 2 laps actually, so of course traffic plays a role, but still I'd say that David Jacks is able to get close to Grant Riddle.
Definitely, but he got held up by Timo there. Nothing wrong from Timo, it's just one of the parts of the track where you can't really let anyone by. We can see a beautiful line from David coming down the hill. Really nicely into the turns, really using all the road. And looks like he's bringing a lot of speed through those 2 or 3 corners.
Yeah, it's usually said that you can gain the most of the time in the quick corners. That's pretty much right, because there's usually where the driver's courage is best shown. But in the slow corners, especially at tracks like this, you can really do a lot. You can make a lot of difference here if you are able to go a bit quicker to them and put the power down earlier.
That's definitely so, and wow, there's a big gap behind one of the green McLarens.
Let's see what this new lap shows, because Grant Riddle has been having more clear track ahead of him. He's going
well, he did.
Quickly through the. Let's see now.
Yes, that's, I believe that's Mark Krabs.
1:03.3 in the case of David Jacks. It's 1:03.4. And yes, in the previous lap he was held up by traffic, so it was much slower one. I think they are pretty evenly matched.
That's definitely the case. I believe. Oh, as we have, I believe that's Alberto, having had another spin on the side of the road. I hope he can get going once again. That's definitely not the place you want to have that happen, but again, hopefully he can get going.
Yeah, I think that the car is damaged.
Oh dear,
from the previous accident, so.
And on the side note, it looks like David Saber has had another spin. He's way behind the group he was pulling away from just a moment ago. And of course, Thiago Canola is in the middle of a big fight here as the lapped cars try to make their way off the racing line here. It looks like Thiago doesn't want to make a move just yet on, I believe that's Raul.
Jason White.
Oh, sorry. Well, they are in a very similar looking cars, so.
Yeah, that's for sure. They're teammates actually, I think.
I believe you're right. And, relatively speaking, this is a very close group. As Lacina has a bit of a almost hits Yves up the rear, braking for the corkscrew, but just about manages to avoid doing so. We have for the lead now. David Yates is right behind Grant Riddle. And there's a big gaggle of cars up ahead as well for them to try and work around while fighting for position. Of course, the cars ahead are fighting for their own positions, so it's not like they are completely likely to move out of the way, although it looks like Mick Chapman in the VRM moves out of the way going up the hill. Now it's Raul's turn to try and
really hard
make
to
way.
make their way to trapping here.
Does a beautiful job.
It's going to play a big role here today.
Certainly, but for now, at least, it looks very well behaved and hopefully no issues to report. As that's Dave Miller now being lapped. Ooh, David going for a very late move there, but Dave sees him coming and gives him the room. Now I believe that's Bruno moving out of the way. Now they have a bit more clean track again. As Dave closes under braking. See if he can stay close, putting the power down. Looks like he doesn't lose that much, and he's definitely quicker down here. Was he's much late.
That's the biggest engine, and it's also great top line speed, but it's not the best handling. So you see him always getting away in the straights, but then David Jacks is obviously able to catch up in the braking and also when coming into the turns, which bodes well for him when it comes to overtaking, but still it's going to be very hard.
Oh, Grant made a mistake.
Traffic. This could be the case here.
We could have a run up the hill.
For the car's true, but no, not yet. Not going to happen.
That was Jason White they lapped. That was very close indeed. Let's look. Oh, better line from Grant this time around. But with Jason, it looks like has a bit of a spin in the background. Hopefully there is no spills from that. Now he gets... Oh, Bruno had a bit of a moment as... Whoa! And that's of course the big gaggle of cars that everyone lapped. Now
many cars together there.
That's definitely...
Ah, Bruno.
Oh no!
Luckily Jason White has been able to...
Fortunately...
Not for Hackman.
Actually, that's Thiago Canola in the green McLaren now. Number... Oh, sorry, yeah, that's Hackman. But he still stays close behind Chapman, so he still has a battle to partake in. Oh no, that's a big one for David Miller down at Castrol Bridge. Dear me. Oh, he has another very close call actually in the hay bales. When Jason White almost follows him into the hay bales as Hackman goes around his outside. This is manic back here. As Hackman now goes by Dave Miller, I wonder if Miller may be heading for the pits here, considering how hard he hit the barriers. Now he actually continues as Bruno goes rally crossing again. As Jason makes way for Brian Yannick, his good friend. And still, David Yates can't quite find his way past Grant with all. But you have both.
Even if he can keep up, it's going to be very difficult to overtake him. I guess that probably Jack's best chances will come if there is some kind of interference with the traffic or an error by Grant Riddle. For example, right now he lost a bit of time there when lapping another car where David Jacks was more fortunate, but these things tend to even themselves over a whole race. I mean, sometimes Grant will have worse luck with overtaking, sometimes it will be David Jacks who will have it. In any case, they've put already almost 8 seconds behind, whereas next qualified as are David Jonatan and Yves Placé, 14 and 15 minutes respectively.
Indeed, as it looks like Jason White has had another small moment as David Saber makes his way past, and he's of course looking to catch up back up to Martin Lasina first and foremost, who's I believe about 5-6 seconds up the road. But unfortunately the field is very much spread out here after the manic stuff we saw just a moment ago, but Gabriel's there, and I believe number 12 is Raul Jereb is very close here. Gabriel, of course, running with no wing on the rear, no rear downforce, will be having a bit of a handful. Oh, look at that run from Raul!
Nicely done.
Wow!
Very clean, using very well the track.
Definitely so. That was a beautiful way to make his way past. I don't think Gabriel was expecting that either, so that was very nicely done. It looks like we have another car in the pits actually, that's Thiago, so seems like he picked up with the damage, as has Mick Chapman. It looks like we only have one retiree so far, Philippe Enrique, who of course ended up upside down at the corkscrew. But again we have top two really close together. Was Grant is being very careful going into that corner, making sure he won't hit the outside barriers, I think, or possibly. Oh, as we have a small spin up ahead, or a half spin. Oh, as they thread between the cars. Fantastic to watch.
Bit like the Hakkinen and Schumacher overtaking. I think it was back in 1999.
Indeed, I believe it was
the epic one in Formula 1.
Indeed, I believe it was Della Rosa or Sonda, right? That they.
Yeah, one of those back markers. Yes, he didn't even know what happened there.
I'm sorry, I thought David would go for the move there, but he decided not to.
It's a too quick section. I mean, David is no stupid. He knows that going there is almost, well, going for the tragedy, because the cars are going to change direction very quickly there. Oops, he pressed the wall, I think.
If he didn't, he will have at least scraped the paints off.
Dave Miller is now on the side of the road. He's gone for an outside excursion. Did not finish. It seems he finally quit.
Oh no. Let's see if we can possibly catch what happened. Oh, he ran. Oh dear. He ran straight on at over there, and not sure. Maybe his wheel disconnected, but because it looked like he just went straight on. That's very unfortunate for Dave, but at least I hope he enjoyed himself while he was in the race. And on another note, it looked like...
I think that David Jacks is already well aware that it's too hard to overtake here, and he's right now content with putting some pressure on Grant Riddle, forcing him into an error or trying to look for the opportunity when lapping traffic. Of course, he knows that if he would be able to be in front with Brandt behind, it would be the reverse exact same situation. So he only has to really take care of not making any error, and that could very well win him the race.
Of course, and we've seen Grant in earlier events have one or two issues trying to handle that shadow, so there is certainly the possibility that he will make a mistake somewhere along the way. I'll just quickly bring up the field as the standings are at the moment, so that you can find your favorite drivers. We haven't covered them much in this race, and we've already covered more or less. I believe that is 1/5 of the distance, and it has just flown by.
And it's only 11 cars in the leading lap, which is not just a matter of how quick the leaders are, which obviously they are, but also of how narrow the track is and how many people have made some kind of error or out-track excursion that has made them lose even more time.
Indeed, and David Sabre is now gaining massively on Lasina and Yannick. I believe both of them were held up by traffic going towards the corkscrew.
This is Martin Lasina on Brian Yannick.
Indeed, and David Sabre ain't that far behind either, only a couple of seconds now. Approximately anyway, but as long as he can keep the car on the road now, he should be able to catch up to at least these two cars in front. Whereas he catches a bit of dirty air behind with a lap traffic. Not entirely sure that's Steve Parker in the number 34. Someone had spun back there, I believe. Couldn't quite catch who that was, but someone was on the side of the road up at the corkscrew.
Ooh, David Jacks trying there.
I caught the end of that, and that looked very close as Jason White gets well out of the way. Very nicely done, doesn't want any part of this. Whereas David again gets really close under braking. Grant makes a bit of an error.
Yes.
Well, an error
Because the
possibly.
track is so narrow there at the corkscrew, there is only one line through it. Not into it, as Alex Hanardi showed, but
Indeed. Was David... Okay, no, that was Grant taking the wide line.
very wide. Playing with the tires there on the side. Took some risk there, but he really wanted a good run here. Because look at that.
Wow.
David Jacks really was catching up with him there.
He
and
really...
the braking from turn 1, it's one of the few passing options that you have here.
As we've seen, you can pass up at the corkscrew as well. If you get a run out of that corner, but David doesn't that time, and it looks like pretty much the whole field. Well, here we have a couple of cars. That's Ray Riddle.
He right now passes.
Whoa,
Oh my
no! Oh no!
Ah, that was really unfortunate. Something that should not have happened.
Whoa, and we have more trouble.
Massive accident there.
Oh, and that's unfortunately Raul Yareb out of the race. Let's see. Oh, Bruno tried to had a moment through the kink,
Yeah,
and
he tried to give room, but when going back to the track, many people spinning there afterwards. Oh, and Raul had to abandon the race. That's really sad.
Well, no, it more feels like Bruno had a bit of a moment in the kink, and that caught him out. And when he tried to get back, as you said, he lost the car. But oh, that's really unfortunate. Here, I mean, it looks like there is a few cars that's... I noticed one was heading for the pits. That's Bruno Chacon, obviously into the pits after that incident. Looks like all the wheels are still on his car, so it'll be relatively short repair. That unfortunately broke up a very good fight that we could have been watching, but looks like oh, David has a bit of a moment up in second place. Hit the curb a bit wrong. Always Grant has a moment as well. As he'll now probably be held up in the corkscrew as there's another spin there. There he goes past Gabriel Stair. Let's see if Dave can do the same going into the last corner. Oh, as Grant spins off. He does a 160, gets back going, only loses 3-4 seconds, but it's enough to lose the lead of the race, and now it's David Yates in the lead with a bit of a gap. Let's see if we can catch. Owie runs a bit too wide, hits the dirt on the outside, and that's enough to cause him to spin, but that's a very nice recovery from him.
We'll see now what his lap times are when he is trying to pursue someone.
Indeed, and what David's
catching up with David Jacks quite quick, but you never know. I mean, he's a great driver, and he was very well aware of the fact that the overtaking here is very difficult, so it wouldn't surprise me if he had been pacing himself while he was on the lead. We'll see now, because if he is really able to catch up with David Jacks quick, then that means that he was hiding some seconds under his sleeve.
It also looks like David is trying to get used to running on his own. He's been so used to sitting behind Grant for most of the race.
Well, he has done what is so far his best lap, 1.02.9, so not that he really needs to get much accustomed to it, and I believe he's actually trying to open a gap, because once you get into the rhythm, and once you have put some overtakings behind you, it's very probable that you get some kind of asynchronization with the guy that is behind you, because the overtaking always plays a role here. So if the other guy is quite behind you, right behind you, he is able to follow you through the overtaking maneuvers, and you more or less keep your difference on the track. But if you're starting to overtake people on different parts of the track, you might very well get lucky and open a gap, because the other guy is unlucky when it comes to overtaking.
That's definitely true, and despite spinning early on in the race, David Junt is in 4th and actually catching you up Bors for 3rd. I can't understand how he does it, but he manages it many times over. As that was his place.
Well, it showed that he was able to put up with the old McLaren E Pocono. It doesn't amaze me anymore. One of the more precise drivers here, hitting the same apex lap after lap. Really a very regular guy. I mean, David, we should call him the Swiss clock Junt. So David Jacks now coming to some heavy traffic. and we'll see how this plays out.
Looks like the traffic is fairly quick, at least down the straights, so with any bit of luck for him, he'll catch them in the... Ooh, side by side up in the kink, that's not good. As Mark Cracks gets well out of the way, that's very nicely done of him. Oh, as Mick Chapman goes wide there to let Yates through as well. It's just like Grant has had a spin or something, he's way behind now.
Yes.
Oh dearie me, he must have hit the curb wrong or something coming out of turn 1-2. Way
He's
off the
now
track.
8 seconds behind, and Juha Boss has just...
Whoa.
And David Young is immediately on his tail. Overtaking now, getting the 3rd position when Juha Boss recovers.
That's definitely
disputed.
well, he looks like he's holding on for now, just about, barely. Oh, David has a run though.
Not the best place to be now, but yeah, he makes it.
Wow.
On the outside. Great move there.
Fantastic pass. And that sort of proves that the works McLarens are a handful here today. When David Sabre has spun twice and now Juha Boss has a spin as well.
Well, they are very quick cars, but they are also obviously very violent ones. When you are going at those speeds, when you have cars with that ability, then if you're willing to put them to the limit, you're obviously going into big risks.
Certainly, and unfortunately we have another retirement in Adam Hackman. Not sure how it happened, but looks like he's out of the race, but unless David Yates makes a mistake now, he should have the race in his bag. And the next thing to be looked at is whether David Sabre can catch up to Just Placé, I'd say.
We're 1/3 into the race. Whoa, David John now coming to some heavy traffic there. Juha Boss trying to use the traffic to his avail.
Oh, and unfortunately Gabriel's...
David John against Gabriel Sturr, but Gabriel is not willing to interfere in that fight and very sportingly moves over.
As does Bruno, and I believe for Gabriel there he didn't know where to go, so... Because he had both the cars that was quicker side by side behind him on a piece of road that is barely 2.5 car widths wide. So he did a very good job in waiting to see where the faster cars wanted to go and then let them by.
And only 9 cars now in the leading lap.
Sorry for being away for a moment there.
But then you see it, Steve Parker allows Juha Boss to overtake very cleanly, again very sportingly. But look at what we were mentioning some time before. If you get out of sync with the car that is in front of you when it comes to overtaking, it may easily happen that you get trapped behind a lap car, and then you are no longer able to keep up with the car in front. If the car in front gets trapped, then usually what happens is that you just catch him. If you are lucky, you might get an overtaking opportunity, but most of the time you just reduce the gap or keep it. But if... Oh, David John, what an uncharacteristic error of him. He recovered well, and now let's see what happens, because I think that both Gabriel and Steve Parker are having the fight of their own. It's always so complicated to do your own work while at the same time not interfering with the race that others are having.
Indeed, and another fight happening not that far behind now is Yves Placet and David Saber. They are right nose to tail here now, as Mark Craggs tries to get out of the way and let them by, as David Saber runs a little bit wide.
Oh, David Jacks just had an incident when trying to lap Team of Merge. Fortunately, nothing really bad happened, but that was a close call.
That will have been a bit of a scary moment for sure.
Fortunately for him, Grant Riddle is 9 seconds behind, because otherwise we would certainly have seen a change in the lead.
Indeed. It's one of the biggest dangers around here.
Now on Yves Placet's tail.
Yes, indeed, and
he spans out, because this is a section where the McLaren has clearly the advantage. Look at that, he's eating him in the straights.
See if he can get a run through here this time. If he does, he could have an opportunity. Whoa!
Yeah, look at that. David Summers trying to put all the power down that he can to get a run there. But not going to happen in this lap. He'll have to be patient. Probably going to make an attempt again over the start-finish line going into turn 1. But that's, well, not for the faint of heart.
Certainly not. And there's a bit of lap traffic as well to get to contend with. I believe that's Steve Parker, who of course have been leaving the room, and he does again. Very nicely done. Let's see.
Yeah, now let's see what happens, because Steve's got very good exit from the corner that hampers the McLaren's top speed ability.
Ooh, but a good run through here.
Section.
This could be it. He goes up the inside, and Yves very understandingly lets him by. He knows the championship is on the line. If he crashes, that's a big point swing. That's a very assertive pass in my view from David to go for that. Let's see, further up the road, David Junt is still trying to catch you, boss. It looks like you are, unless OS we have, is that race sitting still going on to the start-finish straight? I believe it was. He's back running again.
Team of Hermes has finally quit with suspension damage.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I was hoping for him to have a good race. We now have a bit of a fight here. It looks like, unless Ray has some issues, and I think it much looks like he's letting people.
The gap between them is right now down to 7.5 seconds.
Now a bit of a partly a freeway scrap, a bit further behind as well, but let's head back up through the field to see how it's looking. David Yates enjoying a big lead still, despite that scare earlier.
Yeah, but at this track, any error, spin, anything can quickly put you behind the following car or reduce your gap to nothing.
Of course.
7.2 seconds between Grant and David Jacks now. Jack's not having traffic, so it means that Grant is really starting to be on the move and try to get the lost ground. 6.9 seconds now, and Grant really going sideways now on the turns. I don't think he's holding anything for himself. He's trying to be there close to David Jacks, as we had mentioned before, to get into the same groove when it comes to overtaking and capitalizing on any error.
Certainly, and it looks like gaps are fairly spread out. All in all, so with that in mind, let's take a moment and have a look at the trivia question for this event. I would have expected, sort of expected to be able to bring it up a bit sooner, but the fighting on track has been immense. So for you to think about this for the rest of the event is, who won both 100-mile heats of the Pacific Grand Prix at Laguna Seca in 1960 and 61? Was it A. Jim Hall, B. Dan Gurney, or C. Sterling Moss?
Pacific Grand Prix. That's a tough one. What kind of formula was that?
I believe it's fairly similar to these cars in terms of the way they looked, but I'm not sure of the exact formula itself, but the cars were fairly similar to these. As we're back looking at the corkscrew where Grant Vidal just went through, and now comes Juha Boss with Jason White behind him, and David Jund fairly a bit closer than he was before. And here comes David Saber trying to close in on the car, on another few cars in front, and Yves Placet trying to
fight for position between Gerard Rion and Gabriel there.
Indeed, and Ray Riddle ain't that far behind either, right?
As usual, we see Gerard Rion's Lola quite bent in the bodywork. It's really good when having to start midfield. You're many times involved in the trouble.
Indeed, I don't think the Lola team has had a single event where they haven't had to replace one body part or another. But then again, I believe that can probably be said about every team in the championship. Always look at that run for Gerard through that left-hander. But then Gabriel is very strong coming through the Castrol bridge turn and up the hill. As Ray makes a slight mistake behind these two. And it looks like that is the closest battle on track. Once again, Gerard has a really good run through there. When he tries to follow Gabriel through on a lapping. Oh, we see! Oh, Gerard, too much power on.
Too optimistic with a double there.
Oh, and I thought Ray was for position, but apparently he wasn't. Oh yeah, it was. Right? No. Oh, it is for position, but there's a whole lap between them. Oh, Slacina is locking up into the corkscrew, just about gets the car stopped. And here comes Thiago Canola to probably put a lap. Oh, actually unlapping himself. It looks like Grant is closing up a little bit to David Yates at the moment.
Yes, only 3.4 seconds now, just noticed. Probably a kind of driving error by David Jacks, or having been held up by traffic.
Yeah, it's a bit of traffic. I believe that's Jason Whited up ahead. As he very nicely gets out of the way.
David Junt is starting to have Juha Boss in his crosshair again.
Yep, he's definitely closed in on the last few laps. Oh, it looks like Juha might be running a little bit deep. No, okay, he got the car stopped and turned in for the corkscrew, but definitely looks like David is a little bit quicker. Juha makes a tiny mistake, takes a bit of a bad line through turn 8. And now again we can see the difference in the engines. That's the 8-liter Chevrolet engine in the works McLaren up ahead, and I believe David's McLaren has a 7-liter Chevrolet.
Yeah, this is the part of the track where the engine really makes a difference. But in any case, for you, it's not exactly going to be the happiest sight of all when you got your follower spinning some laps ago and now you have him on your tail again, when you had been giving your best and driving the most of the car.
Quite.
One of those demoralizing things.
Certainly, but he's still doing a good job so far, keeping ahead. Of course, David will probably have to be a little bit brave to make his way past if he's going to do it on pace alone.
Well, first and third, as everybody knows, are the most contested positions. First, obviously, because it's either winning or being the second, which is, as the American likes to say, the first of the losers. And third, because it's obviously the last of the podium positions. So when you are fourth, you are always, well, somehow like having been racing with a carrot in front of you and then in the end not getting anything.
Indeed.
The last points paying position is also the case, but I'm not going to throw salt into your bones, Jonatan.
Why not? Oh, Jason Whited is out of the race.
Oops.
Oh, he had a moment with... Oh, that's Grant Ridol he had a moment with. Whoa, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, because that also threw Ridal 11 seconds behind the leader.
Wow. Oh, and Matalasina's out as well.
Again. So what's here? Because David Jacks was out of the track.
Oh, he had a moment with Lasina.
David Jacks only 0.5 of a second? Well, the last thing that Grant Ridal probably would have thought after falling 11 seconds behind the leader is that he would find himself right now 0.5 of a second behind him.
Yeah, David Yates had a moment with Martin Lasina, picked up damage, and of course Grant will probably have picked up damage with...
And it looks like David's car is damaged. Is that possible?
Yeah, he had contact with Martin Lasina during lapping,
and David Junt. We have all of a sudden the
top four.
First 4 qualifieds are there almost in the same piece of real estate.
My god. That's a big swing in this race.
A big turn in the event, yes. Lots of wheel locking for David Jacks. Not sure if that's indicative of some suspension damage.
Well, I know he's been locking up going into the corkscrew, so maybe a bit of both as Chapman gets out of the way.
So Martin Lasina with the accident has retired.
Yep, and so did of course Jason Whited, unfortunately, but it's one of those things that can happen, especially around this track where there is relatively little room for you to... Wow! That was a big moment for David Yates.
Yeah, but he's a bit nervous with that. He's trying to put the throttle down as quick as possible and
of course trying to get to know the car again after it got a bit bent.
Speaking of cars, I'm looking at Little Al's
car. Grant has a spin. Grant goes down to 4th. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, David coming now to Little Al, whose car is looking like the Batmobile. Now it's Juhabos' turn, and David John.
Nicely done, he stays well out of the way.
More accidents? Is that? Jason Whited did not finish it, so?
Yeah, he had the incident with Grant Goodall. Although to have looks like there was someone in the pits, but
it's David
wrong
now following Grant seconds behind. Oh, bruising the wall now. Poof. This track is really starting to take its toll in the field, because well, we're seeing lots of incidents today.
Indeed. Well, Saber had a bit of a moment down in turn 1-2. It looks like he's carrying a little bit of damage as well with how his car is moving about.
In any case, David Jack's car seems to be unaffected because he's doing more or less quick lap times. Not yet the ones he was doing before, but only by 1 or 2 tenths off. So once he is able to cool down and concentrate, probably he will be doing again the same.
It's definitely possible, and we can be certain that
Juhabos is now in second position, closing up very quickly. Not that he has been doing quicker lap times than David Jacks, but he has been very steady in the last laps, whereas David Jacks has been fluctuating between some quicker and some slower laps.
I wonder if he's still struggling a little bit with some kind of damage after the contact that we just can't see at the moment. Because he's really getting closed in on now.
Certainly not the best looking one, but you never know. Steering wheel seems to be quite straight when he's going in straight line, which is normally a good sign of the suspension not being at least excessively bent.
Well, maybe so, but here comes both Bos and Junt, only a couple of seconds behind each now.
I saw how he missed the corner entry there, and the lead of the race also. Not just that, also second position. And now look at that, he spun.
Oh dearie me! Oh, and he's out.
Yeah, suspension damage. I believe the car was probably already damaged, and well, and David jumped at that. As usual, he has found himself, thanks to his steady driving there, following someone he has chances of overtaking, and both of them fighting for something better than they had thought at the beginning of the race. In this case, for the very win of the race. So Yves is meanwhile in 5th position, which secures him a good hand of points for the championship, but David Saber is also in 4th.
And yeah, David
Junt.
I had a comment from David Yates in the voice program we are using, and he was very annoyed with the situation. He did have a very bent car before he finished it off in the Castrol bridge turn, but it was caused by a lapped car, the damage he had, so I'd assume that was the incident with, unfortunately, Martin Lacina, but that's what can happen, as David Junt now is right behind Juha coming down the start from his straight.
Well, this is going to be a good boost of points for David Junt if he continues in this position. But Yves Placé is probably going to be the one who capitalizes most from the current situation, even if he is in 4th position, because he will secure the championship lead and go into the last race with at least a quite comfortable position. I mean, that would be his championship to lose.
Definitely so.
And David Junt here is showing his patience. I mean, that's what he's doing now is exactly the kind of thing that most drivers would never do. I certainly wouldn't. And that's to keep the cool head and not allow the red mist to confuse you. He's just patiently waiting behind Juha Boss. He knows, he's very confident of himself. He knows that he can be quicker and that he can be more steady than Juha. And he's trying to simply wait for the error or press him into making it.
And Juha will of course be looking for his first win in this championship. I'm wanting that very badly, I believe, because he swapped over to the Works McLaren after it was freed by Scott Jurek, and understandably he is hoping for some good results. And I believe he finished on the podium last time out. Here he's of course fighting for the win, so it'll be two drivers who really wants to win.
David Sauber is now pursued by Brian Janik, and he should make his best not to lose that position, because otherwise that will hurt in the championship race. He's already behind Yves Placé. Having a car between both of them would certainly be very hurting.
So David Sauber will have spun again then, unfortunately, because he was ahead of Yves just a few laps ago.
Maybe.
That or some kind of other issue, but he is way behind Yves, so definitely something must have happened.
Ah, sorry. I thought you were referring to Brian. Brian Janik is 2 seconds behind him, behind David.
Oh, of course. And
David Junt letting the tile hang out. Very nice line through the corner. And you can see one interesting thing about his driving, that's his smoothness between the line and the application of throttle, brakes and everything, because you see that the car that is in front, that's in this case Juha Boss, to go at the same speed is locking wheels and having more wheel spin than David is having, which is quite indicative of how David is having is able to extract more from the tires and the car than the guy in front. And also, of course, obviously, having more, well, the equipment in better shape towards the end of the race.
indeed, and we haven't been following Juha nor David closely early on in the race, but of course we don't know what kind of injuries they are carrying either in this race. So that could also be playing in, but now we have a bit of traffic up ahead. That's 4 or 5 cars that are fairly close together that these two will have to maneuver through as well as they can. Looks like you had a bit of a better opening lap here, pulling away quite a bit from David, but always being held up here.
He's also probably well aware that they are coming into traffic and wants to get out of sync with David Jan. But so far David's keeping up brilliantly.
Oh, and there's passings going on. Oh, and that's Mark Crags sideways.
Fortunately, he spun into a part of the track that is not harmful. Bruno check on making both of them.
Yeah, you were very aggressive there, but Bruno seeing them coming and moving out.
Yeah, but see what we were talking about some laps before. I mean, in this case, if you are not lucky with the overtaking, then you get the guy behind right on your tail. That's okay. That's what happened to Juha Boss right now. But no harm done. I mean, he didn't lose a position. Whereas if it's the opposite situation, if David Jund would get out of sync with Juha Boss and would lose his train, it could very well happen that Juha starts getting into a different kind of rhythm and opens a gap, and then David has to work his way again towards him.
Indeed, and there's a fight for position, I believe, up ahead of the leaders now. This will be interesting. It's between Canola and I believe that's Ray Vidal. So I'm certain Ray will be aware of the leaders coming through. Haven't raced enough with Thiago to make a judgment there, but so far they are still staying ahead of the leaders as Thiago goes up the inside of Ray into the last corner, with the leaders right behind them.
David got very close to those dangerous tire markers on the inside of the turn.
Indeed, we saw David Saber hit them when we were riding on board with him a few laps ago, as Ray now have the leaders behind. Of course, not wanting to let them by.
Let them by in this very quick part. Probably he's going to move over now, right? Very good move. Out of the line there. But not in the quick section. You asked him to do that.
You had a bit of a moment of lap traffic. Whoa, 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 whoa. Are they going to be okay? Oh no, that's Grant Ridol, I believe, rolling over. Oh, he's a lucky man. He lands on his wheels and are able to keep going. Obviously with damage, but he was also catching up to the top duo. Oh no, he's blown his engine. Oh, that's so unlucky for Grant.
Yeah, he had been able to make his way up to the position, but...
Oh, where's his placé? Did I miss him going through, or what?
No, he quit. Grant quit.
Ah, there he is. Sorry, I missed Yves Placé going through the field, so that's my bad. But it is the case that David Saber has lost another position in this race. He's now behind Brian Yannick. And Yves was of course up into third, and that could possibly clinch the championship if it stays the way it is.
David Jant still patiently behind Juha Boss. Both coming up now to Thiago Canola, who is quite a skillful driver, should be able to see them coming and make room.
We have about 30 laps to go as well in this race. As David actually drops back from Juha now.
Yeah, this is a quick section of the track, so it's no wonder. But now look at that. Juha Boss was able to overtake very well. So let's see if this puts David out of sync with him, because we're coming now to a very slow section.
It definitely looks like Juha has pulled a bit of a gap here and possibly looking to scamper away with the win if he can.
Now David should be able to overtake here, but this is, well, he's now a bit too far behind, and this crest of the hill is very dangerous. This could have been his chance, but now he has it. He has lost it. There, you see what we were talking about. I mean, he's a bit out of sync, and now he's being held up a bit by Thiago Canola. Not that Thiago is really hampering him, but you don't get the same visibility of the track, and you are no longer that confident when it comes to going for the latest braking point and all that, because you don't really know what the car in front of you is going to do. So he's eating him here in this slow section. Not a lot that David can do, because Thiago has a good freedom, he's a good driver, but Thiago probably should already be realizing the situation and make room. Probably waiting to have a bit even closer, and is going to make room now at the exit of this turn. Oops, there you go. David was a bit eager. Yeah, as predicted. He makes room, but now look at that. Look at the difference that Juha has been able to do. That's what you get when you put the guy behind out of sync with you when overtaking.
Oh, David a little bit frustrated there, taking a lot of speed into turn 1-2.
Yeah, the most important thing isn't the gap that he has opened, but the fact that he was able to actually make David nervous. You know, he bruised the wall in anger when he was trying to get past Thiago. And Thiago did, I should say, quite a decent job. I mean, he let him overtake when he was close enough, and by going quick, he was not really hampering David Jant as much as it would have been if he had been going very slow and blocking him.
Indeed, but now Juha had a bit of trouble with the lapping cars. I believe that's Gabriel Sturr they made a way past, and David caught up another second, pretty much. OS, he is a bit antsy here, wanting to get on with this. A lot of power on.
He has seen what happened to him when getting out of sync, and he doesn't want that to happen again. He wants to be right behind Juha, because it's also a matter of being close enough to capitalize on any airport. If Juha has half a spin, or he doesn't come out quick enough out of a corner, then if you're not close enough, it serves you nothing. Both obviously know that, and they are pressing as much as they can.
Of course. And, that's where mistakes can definitely creep in. You can see David Saber even further behind Ryan Yannick now, so it looks like the championship will most likely be over at this rate, but it looks like, unless I'm mistaken, okay, Jason is 12th, but Steve Parker...
Any gap over the 20 points would give the championship to Yves.
Okay.
Because we have only one race left.
Oh, of course.
20 points is the most that you can get.
That's something that's fantastic to see here, is that Steve Parker is running inside the top 10. This late into the race, he's had a torrid season in this championship with blown engines. All but one event, I believe, and that was Road Atlanta, where he had a crash.
Actually, I'm starting to think it's only one race left of this. So it's... Yeah, of course. Yeah, if Yves Placé goes out of here with a lead of more than 20 points, then the championship is already his. He has at the moment 21 points of lead. But, of course, there's still this race to be finished and the next one. So as it stands now, Yves Placé would be champion at the end of the race.
And I'm fairly sure he knows that, so unless there's an issue with the back marker, he'll probably keep the car on the road and finish.
Yeah, for him finishing
where he
before
is.
David Saber means the championship win, so no matter what happens or in what position they finish. because third classified is David Junt, who is going to get, well, if he wins, he could be getting 88 points. Another win and Yves Placet not finishing the next race would of course mean the championship is not yet over, but well, let's see. Because neither has David won this race or Yves Placet finished it.
Indeed.
And with 50 points, David Junt is not on the hunt for the championship.
No, he'll only be looking for the wins. And, the same can definitely be said for Juha Boss, as now David is right behind him again. With Nias makes no difference, 20 laps to go. Åcerclinth has a bit of a locked rear tire there, but holds on to this old girl, and well, new girl, considering it's the most recent McLaren, but he'll have to work for it if he's going to take the win here. As will of course all the drivers, considering it's such a hectic track. And another bit of traffic up ahead, that's 2 cars that could play into this.
That's Bruno and Mick Chapman.
Bruno gets nicely out of the way there. David really close here, he could. Never mind, that's the 8-litre V8. 8-litre Chevrolet engine.
Not the place in the track that you would be able to overtake anyway, but as we have mentioned many times before, it's a matter of just being close enough, both to capitalize on any error and to stay with the leading car when lapping traffic.
Certainly, but having seen David go round outside in the last corner to take Juha the first time, I'm sort of expecting something similarly brave to be.
Well, you can bet that if there is any slight chance of overtaking, even if at a place where everybody would think it's mostly impossible, David Junt will make it. Whoa, look at that. That's the kind of thing that David Junt is waiting for.
Looks like David might be feeling the tires a little bit here, as Steve gets well out of the way. Nicely done now.
That's Mick Chapman.
Oh, sorry, Mick.
Yeah, both are using the same car, I believe.
Not the same car, but very similar in terms of the livery. It's because of the camera angle I was on, I couldn't quite see the shape of Mick's car that time around. Let's see. I believe 19 laps to go at the end of this lap, so we're getting towards the business end of this race, and of course it's still very close for the lead. But unfortunately for us, watching the race and the championship, it still looks like it will be over, as Grant Ridol has unfortunately retired from this race. I didn't notice that before, but that's unfortunately the situation.
Still almost 20 laps to go, so more than enough time for David Jan to find the situation that allows him to overtake.
Definitely, and it's also nice to see inside the top 10 is Gerard Rion, who's had a few lackluster events, and Brian Yannick yet again inside the top, actually inside the top 5 here in 4th. And well within a chance of possibly getting a podium finish in this race.
But David Jan there.
Oh dear.
He almost. So his race finished there. Thankfully he did not hit anything. It's only lost time. I don't think that he was by any means believing that it was him who would be doing that ever instead of you.
Quite so, but that proves that both of them were going more or less all out for that fight. So if you wants to now, we could probably try to drive just a tad bit off the limit.
This is now a gap of 7 seconds between both of them.
Then he should definitely be able to run a little bit off the maximum limit of what he can do and save a bit of tire and risk and just try and work the gap as well as he can, if he wants to.
So with this gap now, we could maybe run down the field as they are now.
Certainly, as we have Ibañez of course in the lead, now by just over 7 seconds ahead of David Junt after his very tiny but costly error. Third in the race is Yves Placet and his Ferrari, a very quiet and preserved race from his side. But
Steve Parker just had an accident.
Oh no!
Has quit.
Oh no! He was in the top 10. Oh, he is. Oh, wow! He had a moment over the turn 1 crest and unfortunately span way off the track. So I think even if he wanted to try and keep going, he probably wouldn't have been able to.
David Saber just spun on the corkscrew all by himself.
Suddenly they all making mistakes, and I believe that's very similar to the situations he's had earlier in the race as well. Well, let's try to run through the field. So Yves Placet third. 4th right now is Brian Yannick, and 5th still for David Saber, and hopefully he'll be able to keep the car on the road for the rest of the race. Let's see, 5th I believe, sorry, 6th for Gabriel Sturr in the slightly older McLaren. Another fairly quiet race. He's had a few battles, but I don't think he's been involved in any major issues, so that's a nice to see for him. 7th for Gerard Rion, very nice to see him up in the points paying area of the field. And 8th for Thiago Canola in his McLaren, doing a nice job despite having to repair his car early in the race. 9th for Ray Riddell, who we saw was stopped coming out of the last corner early on in the race, but running inside the top 10 in 9th. And 10th right now for Matthias Weber, a one-off driver in his very old McLaren. I believe that's an M6B that he is running, doing a very good job in that car.
Gant right now coming up to him. He's overtook and is closing the gap to Juhapos again, by the way.
That's very interesting. Jason.
So 11th with Jason White.
Yep. Very nice race for him. Very quiet and reserved.
Car very much still in shape. Probably been able to stay out of any incident and drive steadily.
Which is fantastic to see, as he is our admin and does a lot of work behind the scenes to make all of this happen. And 12th, actually, the Porsche 91710, I believe that is, for Mark Craggs. Very nice position to be in for that underpowered car. Although we can see that he has a little bit of damage to the car, especially the right hand side. It looks like he's been T-boned by someone, more or less. 13th for Mick Chapman, he too carrying a little bit of damage by the looks of things. And 14th will be, in a few laps time, Bruno Chacon, as he makes way for Juha Boos, and soon probably also for David Junt. Always David has a bit of a moment in a corkscrew, but here we go. Junt makes his way by.
But Juha getting into the corkscrew before the lapped car has again bought him some distance.
Indeed, and Alberto Jr. will be 15th in a few laps time when he unlaps himself from Steve Park, and I believe Alberto is our last runner in this race.
Last survivor, I would say.
Fair, I'd say that's probably a fair call.
Which the way the leaders are going to get to in a moment.
So it looks like this will be a close finish, as Junt is on this lap as well, closing in. As he has a bit of a moment in turn 7. This is just a tad bit of time. As Alberto makes way for Juha, David has to be a little bit careful, but there we go. Nicely done by Alberto, letting both of them by as Juha goes rally crossing. This is quite a bit of time to David then.
David already picking part of the dirt and anything with the inside tire in his quest to stay behind Juha.
He's right up underneath his rear wing now. See if he'll possibly go for a move.
This is really going to be a good workover for Juha Boos. I'm betting that he will sleep well tonight after all the effort he has done and the tension he has endured in the race. I can almost see from here in his pain the death grip he has on the wheel right now.
Indeed. David was looking for the move then, but Juha sternly closed the inside line going into the last corner. I believe all the drivers here tonight will need a shower after the race and possibly someone to hug them, because this is very hard work for all of the drivers.
Maybe even some painkiller.
Juha parks the bus going into the corkscrew that time around.
Yeah, but exactly in the only place where you can get through, so no use for David Junt.
Of course, it's mainly the question of if David ain't quite ready for that, that could mean contact, but no issues that time around. And
that's one of the things that you can be sure of when you have behind or side by side with you, maybe Jonatan. It's one of those drivers that you can trust. I mean, they're quick drivers, they're slow drivers, but it has nothing to do with the fact of being able to trust them or not. There are some slow drivers you can trust, there are some fast drivers you can trust, and there are people you simply are not comfortable enough racing around. And David Jonatan is probably one of the guys you're always comfortable racing around. He's well in control, and because he's so precise placing the car all the time in the turns. For you, it's another element in the track. I mean, the same way that you know that the corner won't move, that the tree that they are passing by now won't move, and you can count with that. It's the same with David. You know where his car would be, you can trust him, and that's what makes racing with people like him so great.
certainly, there's many of those drivers in HSO, which makes it a fantastic place to be and to race at, because, as you say, you can have very clean, very fair battles and be around 95 to 99% sure in every race that you won't be taken out if you're battling someone.
So, 7 laps to the finish of the race.
So this is definitely the business end, and as I have a bit of... my apologies for that, I had a bit of a drop, but we're hopefully back for the rest of this race with 6 laps to go at the end of this lap, and the distance between the top 2 cars about, I'd guess about 2, maybe 4 tenths when they cross the finish line this time around. David using every inch of the track, almost scraping the paint off the car, going over the crest. And up ahead is another driver you can always trust to be in control of his car, that's Ray Riddle. So he surely won't affect the leaders more than possibly being in the way in the corkscrew, where there's one line to take and nothing you can do. Oh, he actually moves out of the way in the corkscrew. That's very sporting of him.
Well done there.
Fantastic job, and 5 laps to go as we cross the finish line this time around, and David right behind you are here.
Yeah, trying to put some pressure there when he sees a lap car coming up. This didn't help him in putting the power down coming out of the corner, which is exactly the last thing that he needed, because this is the section where the senior McLaren has all the advantage. They might be both of them McLaren and Orange, but I can assure you that they are very different cars.
Oh, it's David. Whoa. Runs a little bit wide there, but holds on to the car. And here's Bruno Chacon going to the left side of the road, letting both by. Very nicely done, Bruno. It's a bit like...
things tend to even themselves out, because this time it was Juha who got the worst part of coming up to the lap car.
Of course, and the way it's looking now, it sort of feels like when they interviewed, I think it was Mark Blundell in relation to Ayrton Senna, and how everyone during qualifying would jump out of the way of the Dayglow helmeted McLaren, because no one wanted to be the one talked about having spoiled the one qualifying lap that everyone and the Grand Prix was looking forward to.
Yeah.
This feels about the same here, where no one wants to affect the lead battle of this race. And David really early on the power, but still not enough to close on the works.
If David has actually a plan right now.
Well, he knows.
He knows already by now where Juha is strongest and where he could have a chance to pass, but I don't think that he's going to show his card. Not yet.
Well, I sort of feel it's into the last corner, so we'll see what happens. I believe it's 3 laps to go at the end of this lap.
Poof, that factory McLaren is really amazing in straight line.
Definitely so.
A video with Little Al. We were watching a video about the 500cc motorbikes, 2-stroke bikes in the 80s. And there was Randy Mamola explaining about those bikes, and he said something that you can apply very well to the Can-Am cars. He said, look, these things were more or less like a loaded gun. So when you pull the trigger, you better have them pointed in the right direction.
Oh, and Gerard, hopefully he'll be able to keep going. As you were talking about earlier, the trees won't move, and they didn't for Gerard's Lola that time. As David closes on Juha again going through turn 8 into the last turn at turn 9, and who is looking for a good run here. He has a good run. Is this the opportunity he needs? Oh, he's really close. If he's really brave, he may just... Oh, it's not quite close enough. But he should have a good... Oh, he has a good run. He's really close here. This could be the fight for the win. Let's see if he can get through here without running wide. Yep, he does. So this could be the opportunity up the hill. Let's see if he can get a good run through here. Not good enough, as it's 2 laps. We'll leave the last lap next time by, as they go into the corkscrew.
They enter into the corkscrew, which means more or less not being overtaken there, because it's...
Oh, it's really close.
It's the cork in the corkscrew.
Indeed. Oh, is this... Whoa!
Coming to Juha's best section.
Yep, and David made a mistake, so that could be the fight done. I believe this is the last lap we're going on to. So the white flag is out.
No. So anything could happen here in this last lap.
Oh, certainly. David...
White flag for both of them.
Wow. David was really fast through that corner section. Oh, and sliding all over the place there. Into the... Oh, he's looking for an opportunity here with Jason White being lapped. When he should have one last opportunity. Just a question of where he wants to...
lap cars here. That's what he is really willing to use to his advantage, but he hasn't known.
Oh, he's up the inside! Whoa! Whoa, that was close, and he's still really close behind. He could still have another...
He needs to protect the inside. They move very quickly.
Wow!
To the because
is he really... Wow! Oh, I thought he took the... Oh, he should... Oh, he does! My God, what a boss! As he goes across the line to win the race. Oh, Juha will be kicking himself for that one.
Had a plan.
Oh, poor Juha.
Yep.
And behind him in third, with a very quiet race, Yves Blaset will finish third and take the championship here today. Or tonight. Big congratulations to Yves.
Let me see.
I believe he should anyway.
Third position, yeah, probably, yes.
And here comes Brian Yannick running in fourth, going through the last corner. And he'll finish fourth in this race. A really nice run for him. And they...
So Yves Blaset with 15 points moves to 118 points. And David Junt with 20 points, 88, which means Yves is out of reach for David Junt. And in the case of David Saber, is 5th, so that gives him, let me check that. 10 points. 92. 92. Let me check it back.
And while you're doing that, Alberto finishes 15th with a very battered car, but
Now it's 8 points. David Saber is 100 points. Yves Flasset 118 points. So it will
so
go
it's
down to the wire.
wow. So my
It will go
apologies,
down to
but
the wire.
my apologies for calling that early, but it'll be a very long stretch of the imagination for Yves to lose the championship. But again, in racing anything can happen, so it'll be difficult to tell. Yeah, what a fantastic event this turned out to be. A lot of action and really good fun to watch, and what a fight in the end.
The most disappointed guy now.
Certainly, but I have a hard time seeing him being overly disappointed, considering he had such a good fight. But of course he'll be disappointed not getting the win, as would anyone.
Hey, wake up.
Yes, 5th position is 8 points. 1st position is 20 points. So that means 180, 18 to 100. So Yves needs to score at least 2 points in the next race, and then he would be champion.
So you've double checked, so it's still on, in other words. That's
User joined your channel.
that's incredible. As we're joined by our race winner, David Jund. Congratulations, David.
Thank you.
We did sort of notice early on that you had a spin in the middle of the field, but from there on it was a close but relatively quiet race by the looks of things.
Well, I spun twice right at the start. Surprisingly, nobody hit my car, which I don't know how. Maybe just because I kept the throttle and spun to the inside. Then I had that really scary spin before the corkscrew where I suddenly lost, I think, didn't have a straight braking, then started to spin around, and for some reason I did not hit anybody and was just losing a place again. And afterwards, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit like at Donnybrook, because I feel a bit like a robber in this race, since, well, I got third back then, but one thing, this race was a bit of a robbery, since I feel like I hear that David had coming together with somebody that damaged his car, and he should have been much faster and, well, uncatchable. Same for Grant, to be honest. We got it all came undone for him when I think we got bottled behind Ray at first, and then I saw a red car. I'm not sure which one. I nearly hit it, and I had to keep the car. I had to do everything to not spin like the same way again, but Grant was caught out. Not sure if he contacted him, but I just saw him flying into that tree on the inside, and I was like, oh yay, well, that went bad. So I thought like two people that could have won, or nearly should have won this race, because they put in a lot of time for this. They lost the race victory or the chance to win, and everyone was basically Juha versus me, and just like at Donnybrook, like I feel a bit like a robber, since I was not even really going that harsh at it, and I knew that if I wanted to still be in a chance, even though it's a very unlikely one, to battle even until the last race, I would have needed to pass. But at the same time, since it's Juha and I want to keep staying friends with him, I was really careful trying to find a passing spot after I caught back up. Then I just hung it around the outside, even though I think both of our tires were nearly dead. And then I was alongside, but I thought I would brake early and still be careful, so even if he was alongside, I would not push him into a wall or something. And then I saw him, lock up as braking later, and then he nearly spun, and I just had a good line to pass him, but I feel like I robbed this win from like 3 people. I mean, I won and I should be happy, but at the same time, I'm feeling like I was not doing the top most in this race and making a few silly mistakes that I shouldn't have, and that feels a bit like an undeserved victory to me, and that's why it does not feel 100% like I just did everything on my own, and I didn't. I clearly didn't. So yeah,
it's very sporting from you to say that. Did you have a plan in the last laps to where to overtake Juha, or were you simply staying there as close as you could to make it in the first opportunity?
Well, I spun like at the first turn because I came out of nowhere. I just somehow locked the Prix up a bit too much, and then I got sideways and I couldn't correct it anymore. Then I spent all the time catching back up. Not sure if this took a bit more of my tires since I started sliding out of turns. But as when I went behind back Juha, I noticed that maybe around the last time out of it, if he had a bad exit, but even like twice I was getting close, there was no chance to go alongside because he had that much power. All the way up to under the bridge, there was no way to pass him because he just had a better car and there was no reasonable. So I was catching back up into corkscrew or out of it and down the hill. That's where I felt like I had a better car. So if he had like a twitch going on there, and I would have like being able to go alongside for the next turn, which I was on the last lap, but I went a bit out of it not to hit him. That's where I thought I had a chance that I could already see a few laps before if I got close to him. But I wasn't quite sure, since if he was putting the car in all the right places, it would still be nothing, since you can barely go. I mean, along the outside, you can't really. I mean, I saw that. I mean, you then had, I think, the tire problems, and that's where I managed to go alongside. But hanging it around the outside at these turns, especially the first after corkscrew and the second, was a bit too risky. So I really needed like a good sparking idea to get alongside. But even then, I felt like I was also lucky to get alongside on the left, and then be like for the inside for the next turn, which would have not been enough, since Juha would have still maybe been able to hang it around the outside and then power out the last turn because he had a better car, but just locked it a bit too much and got sideways. But still, I feel like I made the most of it, the chance, but I feel like I stole that
User
one.
joined your channel.
Well,
That's
by 10 seconds or by a tenth of a second, the win is a win. So congrats on that. I'm going to leave you all now, but, well...
Yes, I'll be
seems that
moving
the
to Switzerland
championship
tomorrow
is
to kill
alive.
him.
So
Oh no!
see you back at Riverside for the final round. It will be fun to watch for everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alberto, for joining us, and goodbye.
User
As
disconnected from
as
your
you heard,
channel.
we're also joined by Juha Boos. Looked like you had one or two spins, but otherwise you had a fantastic race.
I only had one, and it was really going well until I forgot to close the door on David. He used it, and that was it. Gone.
That's a very short, confined comment about the
Well,
race.
there's not much to say. The only thing I could do, since I wasn't quick enough, was wait for everybody else to crash, and they all did. So I just got to the front because everybody dropped out, and David kept hanging on. That was the problem.
That's fair enough, I suppose. But at least you got another podium, and with a bit of luck, you may even get a win at Riverside.
I won't be at Riverside. That's why I definitely wanted to win this one.
Ah, sorry. That's unfortunate to hear.
Yes, I know. There goes my car. Somebody else can win with it.
Possibly. Well, either way, big congratulations on still getting a podium, and condolences
Thank
on
you.
not getting the win. And also congratulations to David on winning the event, and all those who finished, because clearly this was a very, very difficult race to finish. But with that, I think we'll be capping off the broadcast. I'll just put out a small reminder that in 3 days' time, the opening round of the New Zealand Touring Car Championship will be run at the New Zealand Grand Prix at Manfield, the Manfield circuit, and hopefully we'll see you then. You'll all have a good week until then. So for now, good night and see you later.